A lifelong television producer has a new memoir that talks about lessons and secrets from the reality show industry.
Yes.
I am into this. Cody's standing by this morning to learn more. Hey,
Arthur Smith is responsible for things like American Ninja Warrior, Hell's Kitchen, nailed it, stuff like that. This guy's done everything. Arthur, thanks for joining us this morning.
Oh, my pleasure. Great to be here, Cody.
I have, before we get to the business at hand, I have a story for you. My son was 11 years old, just got a laptop. I go into his room, he slams a laptop shut. And I'm like, what were you looking at? And he's like, no, I don't want to show you. And I was like, come on, man, show it to. He opens it up. It was Hell's Kitchen.
Okay. All right.
I was like, okay, all right.
That's fine. Yeah.
So let's go back. Your first big show on reality-wise was Hell's Kitchen, right?
No, it was actually Paradise Hotel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Hell's is, was pretty early on. When we started the company 24 years ago, and Hell's is in its 22nd, coming up its 22nd season, so it's been a great run.
That is wild. Okay, so you had to convince Gordon Ramsay that you could do this, right? Tell us that story because it's hilarious.
Well, Gordon was very well known in the UK at the time. He wasn't well known in America. He was a Michelin-starred chef. And I actually saw a tape of Gordon Ramsay doing a show in the UK called Hell's Kitchen, which was a very different show than the show that we ended up doing. But I knew he was special. I knew he was a special talent. But I didn't, like I said, the show was called Hell's Kitchen. So I liked Gordon and I liked the title. And then I convinced Fox that we should change the format. And then the interesting thing is that at the time, there had never been a successful network food show. So it was a gamble. It was a big gamble at the time. Actually, Fox was kind of nervous about the show at the time, and the show sat on the shelf for 6 months.
Really?
Yeah. So.
That's crazy. And now it's been on forever. Yeah, and here we are. Okay, so you sat down, you decided to write this book about reality television in your life within reality television. Why did you decide to do this? What was the thing that kind of put you in it? Well,
it's funny. I was watching the segment earlier, and I was looking at those kindergarten kids. And if I was one of those kids, I would be running from the microphone. I was the shyest of all kids. And the thing is I learned when I was 9 years old, it happened to me subconsciously, the power of reach. And that's the subject of the book. It is a memoir, but it is a memoir with a purpose. And it's really about all the stories that are in the book. And there's stories about Dwayne Johnson and Gordon Ramsay and Magic Johnson and Donald Trump and Larry Bird and Dick Clark and a lot of people. But all the stories are there to serve a purpose of what it means to put yourself out there. And there was, like I said, there was something that happened to me when I was 9 years old. You have to read the book to find out what it is.
Yes, sir. Good tease.
And it changed my life. It changed my life. It got me out of my shell. And it taught me that when you reach, you find out what you're capable of. And when you reach, you learn the difference between a pipe dream and what you haven't dared to try just yet. And so I had been subconsciously writing this book for 4 or 5 years. And when I sat down to write it, I couldn't stop writing. And so it was kind of cathartic, but a lot of fun. I hope people will be entertained and inspired.
Fantastic. Real quick before you go, if somebody out there is watching right now and they want to be on a reality show, what are you guys looking for in these contestants?
Well, obviously it depends on the show, right? It's a very different person who gets on Hell's Kitchen, to gets on American Ninja Warrior, to gets on a docu-soap. So, I mean, listen, charisma. and you know what? Here's the one thing. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. If you're not, don't do a reality show.
There you
Question
go.
from the floor? Can I have a question from the floor?
Yes, sir.
Arthur, so you mentioned the docu-soaps, which I think would be like the Real Housewives, Vanderpump Rules kind of thing. As somebody who partakes in those shows, what percentage are either staged or recreated for the cameras? What percentage of that stuff?
Well, I think what happens is, in a lot of the production of these shows, is that you're jumping into someone's life, so you have to kind of have an outline of what they're doing. I know the shows that we do. We have a show on TLC called Welcome to Plathville. It's all real. Yeah. It's all authentic. However, we know when to show up. We know what's happening in their lives. Yeah. But everyone produces it a little bit differently. I'm not going to say that Some of them don't have some staging in it, but for the most part, they're follow docs. You're following what's going on in their lives.
Interesting. All right, thank you so much, Arthur. Thanks for writing this book. It's fascinating. The stories are great. And if you need some hosts, John and I have been hosting all morning. I'm just saying. You just throw it out there.
And doing a great job, I might add.
Well, thank
I've
you
been
very
enjoying watching it.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks, Arthur. All right, back to you, John.
I think we got started. I'm going to give him my agent's contact.
Yeah. Do you need anybody with a bow tie? I'm just saying.
All right, thanks, Cody.